What is the difference between a sketch, a drawing, and a study? And why is this important? We're going to look at how the study is useful in helping young artists grow their observational drawing skills. Plus, I will share 3 activities you can try. Hello, I'm Rob, the arts teacher. In these short videos, I will share art tips, art projects, and lesson ideas that you can try at home or in your classroom. What is a study in art? We know drawing and we know sketch. And the third term we're adding today is a study or studies. How can knowing about studies help us with our observational skills? First of all, let's think about sketching and drawing. When we're making a sketch, we're finding out. We're investigating, observing closely, trying to get information onto our sketch pad. It may be in any media: painting, crayons, graphite pencils, charcoal, pastels. We are observing things around us and trying to get down visual notes that give us information. On the other hand, a drawing is something where we're focusing all of our care and our technique to produce something that is complete, that is finished, that has a complete idea, a complete expression. What is a study? A study is about gathering information too. In a study, we may use our sketching skills, working very, very quickly, very rapidly, not worrying about being finished, not really worrying about the look of the sketch, more concerned with the information it gives us. We want to look at our page afterwards and remember what it was we were looking at and have the details we need. Sometimes we'll use sketching techniques. Sometimes we'll work over details very carefully, just as we would in a finished drawing. But we're not completing a whole drawing, we're just capturing those details. Sometimes we'll make colour notes with just patches of colour. We may even write on our sketch pad during the study period. We might, during this period of looking at the subject or the scene that we're interested in, we might do several sketches of exactly the same thing, trying to get the look of it right. Or we might do some sketches that are about the shape, some others that are about the shadows and the highlights, some others of the same object or the same scene that are trying to deal with the colour shifts. So all of this information fills up our sketch pads. And we're doing this with a very important purpose. We're going to use these. That's the idea that we have. We're going to use these, but at the moment we're not quite sure how we'll use them. We just know that we will use the information in these studies in a future artwork, or maybe several artworks. We don't have to decide right now, while we're doing the studies, exactly what that artwork is going to look like, but we do have to make sure we gather as much of our observation as possible onto the page. So it is with this purpose that the studies will be used later. And we will be using them later when we maybe have no more access to the subject or the objects or the scene that we were looking at. So we are going to rely on the information we have on our sketch pad in all of our studies. Today, I'm going to show you some activities that you can use to unlock the power of the study and to advance your observational drawing skills. We're going to do 3 activities that focus on a single theme: capturing shadows. Not objects, not whole scenes, just the shadows. The 3 activities start with the same technique. I'm going to ask you to make quick sketches only using a single color, a dark marker or pastel, black, dark blue, dark brown. And I'm suggesting a marker or pastel because I don't want you doing outlines. I want you blocking in the shadows themselves. Why are we using just a black or dark blue or dark brown marker or pastel? The main object of this activity is to tune our eyes in so that we see the shadows. In fact, we're trying to just see the shadows, not focus on other details. And this itself can be quite tricky because usually when we're drawing, we're probably focusing on outlines and true colors. Well, in this case, we want to just look at the shadows. Now, if only drawing shadows is new for you, don't worry if it feels like a struggle to begin with. This is only natural. What we're trying to achieve here is a new way of seeing, and that can take some time and practice. Be patient with yourself and the process, and do as many black sketches as you need. Even if you only do this part of the activity, the black sketches, and don't get to the 2-color and photography stages, you will have achieved the most important aspect of the activity. After doing quite a few of these black or dark brown or blue sketches, you will sense that your eyes are beginning to really tune into the shadows. And when you reach this point, you can try doing 2-color sketches. Choose a color for the shadows and a contrasting color for the brightest patches of light. For example, if you choose dark blue for the shadows, create a yellow-orange for the highlights, or deep purple for the shadows and yellow for the sunny places, or deep green and contrasted with a pale pink. Make some more sketches with your 2 chosen colors and sketch the shapes of shadows with the dark or the cool color and create the patches of brightest light with the contrasting color. Again, don't worry about the outlines of objects or the scene. Don't worry about the half shadow and half light. Go for the darkest shadows and the brightest highlights. After doing this, we can think about photography. This comes after the black sketches and after the 2-color sketches. And I recommend taking 2 sorts of photo. And remember, you're simply gathering information with your camera. Don't worry about making beautiful art photos. You are creating documentation of shadows. The 2 types of photo you need are, first, photographs of the same things you sketched, kind of as a backup. And secondly, photos of shadows you find interesting that you didn't sketch. Lastly, look through all your sketches and photos for this activity and see if you missed anything. Remember that now is your chance to do a few more sketches before you leave the scene. Our first activity is sketching the shadows of ourselves and the chairs we're sitting on in a sunny place. You can do this on your own, or you can do this with 1 or 2 friends. If you're working on your own, a good idea is to place the sun behind you and then to observe the shadow that falls in front of you, of yourself, your drawing pad, parts of your chair, and see if you can capture that. If you're working in pairs or a group of 3, set up your seating positions so that you can see 1 or 2 other people and their shadows and capture the shadows of the chair and your classmate. You can also try just the chairs. You might cluster your chairs together or even stack them to create an interesting shadow, and look at that. Our second activity is shadow tracing. You're probably familiar with this. Here we're going to trace the shadows of small twigs, groups of leaves, flowers, directly onto our drawing pad. The trick is to find a bush or a plant that is in direct sunlight and then to gently slip your drawing pad underneath one of the branches or the twigs or next to a flower and look at the shadow that is cast directly onto your drawing pad. Now trace the shadow. Fill it in with your marker or your pastel. Then move your pad slightly, find another twig or flower and trace that as well. Are you ready for the third activity? This is possibly the most challenging and complex because what we're looking for here is shadows over a large area, a network of shadows and repeated patterns. You might have to look for the kinds of scenes where this occurs. It might be rows of trees where you see the shadows of the tree trunks creating parallel lines on the ground. It might be fences casting their shadows on the ground. It might be a cluster of chairs where the chair legs are creating patterns on the ground. So find a suitable scene where you see a lot of shadows creating repetition and patterns and see if you can render these with your dark marker or your pastel. You might find that gestural, broad sweeping marks, almost a scribbling approach, might work best for this. Remember, you're looking at patterns and repetition, and you may be filling up the whole page with what you observe. Working very, very quickly, you might do 5 or 6 sketches of the same scene to help your eye tune in to the patterns of shadows and lights.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share. If you want to see more short videos with art tips, lesson ideas and art projects, please hit subscribe and the notification bell.